Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him two lips like roses and clover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over.
Make a nigga splash like Pippin. That's nothing. Everybody call me Big Pimpin'. No, I ain't bluffing. I'll put your mom in the kitchen. Make a blueberry muffins. It must be Thanksgiving. Cause you'll put the stuff in. Mr. Clean. Baby, why you flow so mean? Mr. Clean. Pull up on my whole damn team.
What's going on, everybody? Bill Dirt here, and we are looking at a VCT flooring today in a bowling alley bar area. This is just our first initial look, walking in, taking a peek at the edges. Figured I'd start right behind the bar because I knew that was going to be probably one of the worst spots that there was. Lots of buildup from leftover liquor, food, other drinks, juices, all sorts of things. Take a peek at the edges here. Most edges are forgotten about or neglected, guys. People will not put in the same amount of work on the edges as they do into the middle of the floor, which means there's lots of leftover wax usually left behind, and then it's just waxed over again on the new finish. So I definitely make that a point to make sure that I get my edges as clean as I do the middle of the floor, so everything is nice and even. Because usually when I do a job, I plan on going back to be the one to maintenance everything. So I want to make sure that my job is as easy as possible to go back and maintain. This is like the dance floor area, pretty beat up and tore up. Making our way over to our first stripped area. We still got some moisture being held along the edges there, which is why that looks dark, a little bit on the left and the right. But this is the furthest end of the bar. And we did a quick little strip on it, 1 to 8 in 4 gallons of water. And let her dwell for 10 to 15 minutes and scrubbed her down. She looks good. So we're going to start our next section here in the dance floor area. And one thing I like to do is make sure that we start on the edges, guys. We always start on the edges just for the simple fact of what I said before. Edges are neglected. We want to make sure that we give them extra attention before anything else so they can get started reactivating so that they will be easier to remove. So you'll see me go over these edges here probably about 3 to 5 times before I even consider going into the middle. Speed that up a little bit. And just keep applying more and more wax. Usually when your wax is starting to turn white, you can tell that it's actually working. It's activating the old finish on the floor, and it's getting ready to lift it up so that you can scrub it out of there. We got our coats around there, and then we're going to start filling in the middle, guys. We got 3 to 5 coats of stripper on the edges, and we're filling in the middle now. And then we're going to go ahead and give this about 10 to 15 minutes. We'll walk away after we fill it in and make sure that we give it proper dwell time. It's very important to make sure you guys give your stuff proper dwell time. If you do not and you try to rush it, most likely you will have a very hard time getting the old wax off the floor. So make sure you give it enough dwell time, and always try to make sure there is enough chemical/water on the floor, guys. If you're putting just one mop swipe on the floor and thinking you're going to be able to strip a floor with that, it's not going to work. There's going to be nowhere for that old wax to lift up and move away to. It will simply smear, smudge, and grab and pull the old wax and leave you with a mess, but it will not remove it. So make sure you guys have enough moisture on the floor in order for stuff to actually float so that you can suck it up and have it actually remove from the floor. So you'll see me just applying before I go ahead and start following my my fellow technician around the edges. I'm just going ahead and soaking down the floor one last time to make sure we have enough water and chemical on the floor. And then as he's doodle bugging, the edges, I'm going to go ahead behind him and get the second edging tool done, which is a 4-inch scraper, and this just assures that we don't have any wax left over on the corners. So we'll start by doodlebugging the edges, and then we go ahead with the 4-inch scraper, scrape every bit of the leftovers up off the corners, and then that way we know we don't have to go ahead and bring the machine near the edges at all, which also helps us out, keep from splattering on the edges or on walls, baseboards, carpet, so on and so forth. So after the edges are done, we will start up our machine and we will start attacking every other area that has not been touched. Remember to take your time, guys. This is not a speed competition. You want to make sure that you're removing all the wax that you've treated. There is no want to do this a second time. Sometimes it is needed, but if you do it properly the first time and actually give your stuff the proper dwell time, you should be able to get it done in one shot. So as you can see, he finished up with the doodle bug. He'll grab the 4-inch blade and go around the edges everywhere he just was with the doodle bug, and he's going to go ahead and scrape it up and make sure that there's nothing left over. While he's doing that, I am running the 175 20-inch swing machine on the floor, and you'll see me go over the same spot 2 to 3 times, sometimes in different directions, and then I'll move forward another 20 inches worth or so. Another thing you guys can do is pay attention to what the machine sounds like as it's going across old wax that's covered in stripper, and then try to pay attention to what it sounds like when you know you have removed all the wax. There should be a slight chafing sound when you're removing old wax, and then once that goes away, you should know. That's a pretty good indicator that that you've removed all the wax from that area that you're in. I'll just keep moving forward with my machine as the other technician goes ahead and gets the rest of the treated area with the scraper. And as soon as he's done with that scraper and he has enough room to start vacuuming behind me, that's what he'll do. We'll make sure to get that stuff picked up as soon as possible. If you leave that slurry on the floor and if it dries, it's going to be 2 times as hard getting it back off. You're going to have to re-strip the whole floor again and go through the same process. Okay, guys, and as you can see, the area where the other technician has already vacuumed up the slurry, it is looking chalky, dehydrated. There is no color left to the floor, and this is exactly what you guys want when you are finished in an area. After you're done vacuuming up the slurry, it should be chalky, dried out, looking dehydrated. What this is bare tile, guys. There is no finish left on the floor in that area. And that's exactly what you want. If your flooring does not look exactly like that or just like that, similar to it, then that means you guys have either not given your chemical enough dwell time, you have moved too fast with your machines, or you have not set up the right ratio of water to chemical mix. So make sure you guys are doing all those steps properly. Make sure you guys are taking your time. You're scrubbing. It's okay to scrub a little more rather than a little less. Rather have it totally stripped than not stripped and have to go back over it. So make sure your guys' floor looks like that when you're done, and then you know you're working with gasoline. I always like to do a clean rinse afterwards, just to kind of make sure there's no more chemical contaminants or leftover debris. That water will help elevate anything left on the floor and allow me to suck it up into the vacuum. And another look at how your floor should look. Along the edges in this video, you guys will see some moisture left over. It'll look like wax. I assure you there's no wax left over. It's just moisture being held either underneath a piece of machinery, or the transition strips are holding a little bit of moisture, or the carpet might be holding some moisture, making the edges look just a little bit dark. And I assure you that all the wax is removed. You guys can see that there is no wax removed in the front area due to the fact that there are broken tiles in that area, and water underneath tiles is not a good mix. That'll start to reactivate your adhesive and start to loosen your tiles, and then they will start popping eventually. So it's just not a good idea to get anywhere near broken tiles with your moisture. As you can see here, guys, we are totally stripped out. Everything is dried out all the way down to bare bones, and we are using the 3M backpack wax applicator for this job and every other job that I do, just for the simple fact that I think doing it with a mop is just messy and not controlled, so to say. I have total control over the amount of wax that I use, how many swipes I do, and so on and so forth, how much wax I put down. We are not overusing wax. We are not underusing wax. We don't have to wait for it to self-level. This will help your dry time because you get to choose how much wax to put down. You don't just have to put wax down then deal with it. You can control how much is out in front of you and how much you need. So it's a beautiful thing. It really speeds things up and helps keep everything neat. It helps you get closer to edges without actually hitting edges, and just tons of perks for this thing. It's about $300 for that setup, but it's amazing, and it really just makes the job go by so much faster. And another thing, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I really do like doing my edges first and like to fill in the middle. Just because I feel like the edges, again, when you're stripping them, they're the most difficult part, and even when you're waxing, you just kind of want to get out of the way so you know that you're not near anything, and filling in the middle has never been an issue for anybody, so always just like to get the edges done first and fill in my middle. Just goes a little bit smoother that way, and then you're not worried about smacking anything or getting wax on anything that you're not supposed to. As you can see, we've got the edges coated, and we are filling in the middle. In this video, you guys will see like some heavy streaks of wax. There's nothing to worry about. Hence, that's one of the reasons I don't like using a mop head, just for the simple fact that a mop head would leave way more streaks than that. It's much harder to level out. But again, you don't have to worry about it because that wax will level itself out. You won't see those high spots or anything like that. You won't feel them. It'll level out, and the wax will go where it's needed in the floor. This is the first coat, guys, and the tile, being bare bones right now, is going to suck that stuff up, and it's going to show no remorse. That first coat is going to go by so quick. It's going to dry up right away and just get sucked into the floor. It's the second and third coat that starts showing the nice shine. And this is after our first coat. First application is finished. Again, you can see some of those high spots with wax and whatnot. You can see that it's already drying, which is why it looks kind of patchy. No, those are not skippers. They're not dry marks. And here is our second application, approximately about an hour later, 45 minutes or so. We got to put the second coat on, and it is in drying phase already. It's been about 5 minutes or so, I'd say, since I've been over in that far area. So she's starting to dry up. The bar has great ventilation, really helps with dry time. And we are on the third and final coat. This is what the customer asked for, was 3 coats after a full strip down. I don't know if you guys remember the big scratch marks from the beginning. Those are pretty covered up. Those turned out pretty nice around the bar. And the rest of it just looks great. Thanks for watching, guys. Comment for any tips, tricks, or if you have any questions. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Build Dirt out.